Next is Doug. Can you introduce yourself, Doug?
I'm Doug Thiessen from Cleveland, Ohio. Back to you, Madam President.
Thanks. Next, I'd like to call on, whoa, Mark. I guess I'm calling.
I'm trying to get this lighting. Yes, Mark Worthy from Querétaro, Mexico. It's a pleasure to be with you. Back to you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mark. Next, I'd like to introduce Diane. Diane, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, Madam President. I'm Diane Vago from Kentucky. Back to you, Madam President.
Thanks. Wonderful. Glad to have you here. Jim Adams, you are next.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jim Adams. I'm also from Kentucky, Lexington, Kentucky proper, and I will be your all-counter grammarian today. And back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Awesome. Thank you. Tricia, you are next.
Hi, I'm Tricia Grove from Pennsylvania, and I will be your digital evaluator today. Back to you, Madam President.
Thank you. And Todd.
Hi, I am the third person from the state of Ohio, Columbus specifically, and that is all. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Wonderful. Thank you, Todd. Aaron, do you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Aaron. I am from a very far away city called Hong Kong, and I'm the table topic master for today. Back to you, Madam President.
Thank you. And I'm looking here. Did I already call on you, Doug? Yes, I did. Okay. Yeah. Just want to make sure I got everybody. Did I miss anyone?
Marty.
Marty, there you are. Hi, Marty.
Hi,
Yeah.
Marty Green from Palm City, Florida. Back to you, Madam President.
Thank you. One of the disadvantages of going through, I'm going through the screen, and I would go that way, and then you were right in the middle, and I go that way, and you were always right in the middle, so I was missing you. I knew I was somebody else. So welcome. Welcome. This is an Advanced Toastmasters Club. If you can click on our agenda is listed in the chat room. So you can click on that. I'm going to have I would like for somebody to read, if you can see our mission statement at the very top. Actually, I'll read it this time, and maybe I'll call on somebody the next week. But we are an Advanced Toastmasters Club, which supports Maverick leaders to have more impact by providing advanced feedback on leadership skills and discovering what it means to be an out-of-the-box, innovative leader. And today, our theme is effective leadership. And I am your Toastmaster for the day. And we are going to get started right on time. And our first order of business is to call on my helpers for the meeting. I'd like to first call on my grammarian. There you are.
Yes, so I'm going to be your all-counter grammarian. The last time that I did this, I had to use a Hallmark greeting card with a weird noise, but today I've upgraded to a nice little high-quality glass and a knife, so a little bit more respectable and not a cat call like it was the last time. So if you hear this, I will make sure I'm off and on, and that's what I'll be doing for the all-countering.
Thank you, Jim.
Back to you.
Thank you. And next, I'd like to call on our timer for the day. Todd Reamer is our timer.
Hello, everyone. If you haven't seen already, I've got 3 colors over here. Tell me if you can tell what they are. We've got green. Whoops, I already said it. There's green. What's this one?
Yellow.
And what's this one?
Green.
I fooled you.
And that one says red, yes.
Yes.
Very good.
So I will be using that for the different primary speeches, Doug and Pamela's, as far as I know. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And at this point, I'd like to introduce our first speaker of the day. which is Pamelah Landers. And I'm going to, one of the things that's a little challenging is when I switch the screens here, I have the introductions here. However, not able to see them right this very second. There you go. Okay. Which is not there. Hold on just one second. Thank you. There we go. So our first speaker is Pamelah Landers, and she's been leading groups since she's been in junior high. Having learned much through these experiences, Pamelah teaches about leadership not only in Toastmasters, but her career as an expert hand analyst. Presenting the Delegating module of the Leadership Excellence series, please help me welcome Advanced Toastmasters Gold Competent Leader, Pamelah Landers.
Thank you all. Delegating. This is our topic for today. In order to delegate, you need to be in a position of leadership. If you're not in a position of leadership, delegating doesn't make sense. As an effective leader, you empower yourself and others. That means you need to feel empowered so that others feel that they have permission to also be empowered. They'll look to you as a role model. Your self-respect is also a role model. The more self-respecting you are, the more other people have permission to also be self-respecting, which creates a much more effective team. As an effective leader, your first priority is to identify and share your vision with the team. So this means you need to know what the vision is and you need to share it. So Dawn, as an example this morning, sharing the mission of the group that we're in is one way to share that vision. Very important that the team members know what the vision is. It's hard for them to follow you if they don't know what they're following. If you aren't clear about your vision, ask for help to clarify it. You don't have to do this all on your own. You can get other people to help you create it, but ultimately it's your responsibility as the leader to communicate it. You can do it in writing, verbally, however you want to do. You could act it out, you could mime it out, whatever. You may want to break or create new rules to expand the vision. You can't expand the vision with the old or current rules. It's very important. If we're maverick leaders, we're going to have to break a lot of rules. For the speech I did a couple weeks ago, so let's pay attention to where can we expand or change that. Then you're ready to start delegating. Once the vision is in place and you've communicated it, then you can begin the delegation process. What is delegating? Delegation is the process of transferring the responsibility for a specific activity or task from one person to another and empowering that individual to accomplish a specific goal. So it's the task and the empowerment. And there's multiple steps for the empowerment process we'll be seeing later. Delegating is also about creating alliances with team members. When the team member feels like they're part of the co-creation and they're in alliance with you, there's a much stronger commitment on their part to participate and to help manifest the vision. You delegate to empower. Leaders cannot accomplish goals alone. Others may need to act on behalf of the leader, like the Vice President of Education does when the president isn't available in a club meeting. A leader relies on others to do some of the necessary work. In Toastmasters, the president is not in charge of the treasury most of the time. So what is the treasurer's job, right? They need to do part of the work. If a team member feels like you and they are in alliance, they will be way more committed and dedicated to the team's vision. And again, can't be repeated enough how important that piece is. As you might imagine, there are barriers to delegation. Let's look at some of the common ones. Your goals and visions aren't clear. You see trees, but not the big picture of the forest. You're new in your leadership role and have never delegated before. You feel powerless and incompetent, like someone is trying to cut a hole in the floor and you're just going to fall right through the floor. You lack confidence, or you're skeptical, wondering, I wonder if my team members have the ability to do the necessary tasks. Are they capable? I'm not so sure. Control. Sometimes leaders are afraid to lose control. They like to be an authority, and then they have to do everything themselves as a result of that. I took this picture at Venice Beach. It was like, oh my God, she's overloaded. Her kids could help. Her team isn't well formed. I'm trying to decide if it's more likely that I know nothing at all about leading, or everyone I work with knows nothing about following. Sometimes that's how it feels. I feel trapped. I can't because fill in the blank, and you want somebody else to make the choices because you don't want to, or you don't feel capable, or you feel incompetent at being able to do that. Or you're having to live by some rules that don't apply to you. Or you're overwhelmed. I'm so overwhelmed and I'm numbed out. I can't even organize tasks. I don't even know what needs to be delegated. So you don't even try and you don't make any choices and nothing gets done. Let's just take a nap. Let's just tune out. Maybe somebody else will take over. I'd rather do it myself because it's faster and easier. What if they do it wrong and I have to do it over? I cannot tell you how often I hear this experience of people just saying, well, I just want to do it. I'm just going to get the website up. I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to make sure everything. And if other people help and they get it wrong, it's my job to fix it. Well, not necessarily your job to fix it. Maybe you could train them. Some leaders are reluctant to ask others to take on additional responsibility. So you end up doing more work yourself because you know you're going to do it faster and easier or better, right? Instead of helping other people learn and support them in expanding their skill set. Or you sabotage the team because you lack confidence in your skills as a leader. You're afraid you will fail from the start, so why don't I just sabotage things right off the bat? Then nobody can say I didn't, succeed. You feel like you have no or little influence with others. So how could you possibly be an effective leader? How is it possible anybody would listen to you or want to know anything you have to say? Some leaders don't want to share credit. It's, I did it. I was the best. It's all my idea. I got it all done by myself. So now we're going to look at what the delegation process consists of. There are 5 steps in this process. The first step is to prioritize, review everything that's going on in the workload and everything that could possibly be delegated. This is going to require your team to tell you what this is about. It's not something you necessarily can do all on your own. Step 2, match needs to availability and ability. Match the requirements of each responsibility and who's available and what they can handle. As an example, don't ever ask me to design a website. That would be like the worst thing in the world to ever do because I have no skill at that. I'm really great at organizing and giving feedback, but I could never design a website, so that wouldn't be a good match. Knowledgeable. Make sure the team member has the knowledge needed to do the task. Find out. Talk with them about the task they're doing and what they already know and where there might be gaps. Are they motivated? The team member may be knowledgeable, but how are they aligned with the leader's goals? And are they clear about what the vision is? Are they sure that they like the vision? Are they willing to put time and energy into following the vision and making things happen? Are they interested? Listen to the team members' ideas. Be open to innovative ideas, suggestions that are outside the box, or solutions and approaches. because you never know what might come up that you hadn't considered that might make things easier or better or move faster or be more of a team building creation. Just never know. So allow the team to share ideas. Listen to them as well. The team member may have other focuses that don't relate to the leader's goal. How much attention are they going to give their work? How devoted are they going to be to the project if they're focused on other things? Step 3, assign responsibility. Make sure that the task that the team member is doing is clearly explained and that the team member knows what's expected and that they're responsible for the expected results. They know what the results are and they know what their role is with it. And then you can follow these steps. Fully describe the task and the expected results. Give all the information necessary to get the task started. Tell the team member where they can be obtained. What are the resources that are available and where can the resources be accessed? State who else will be involved and describe their role so that they get the big picture about what's happening and what their piece of it is, where they can go for help. If they need training, identify the training needs and provide it. What are the resources? You don't have to do the training yourself. You can have other people do the training. Just want to say, be conscious about the fact that it's not all on your shoulders. You just need to make sure that you know what's needed. And then identify the resources. What materials, what information, what budget? What do they need to know in order to have them be successful? And then empower and grant them authority. The team member needs to know what authority they have and what resources they have to make the decisions they're responsible for making. What authority specifically is being delegated to them. Be really clear with them and how that relates to the vision of what the purpose is for this particular project or team. When team members feel empowered to have authority for their part, it creates options for more innovation. They can make up stuff. Greater commitment from team members. A strong sense of ownership. This is really important. The feeling of ownership is so important for every single team member. If they're not feeling like they are owning their piece, it's not going to get done. As you all know from having been in Toastmasters, of people who don't really own their role with doing the timer job or doing speaking to get their competent communicator, for example. If they're not owning it, they're not going to participate, and it impacts everybody. Increase productivity and quality. If you don't have to do it all, there's a higher chance that there's going to be more productivity and quality done by the people who are taking responsibility. Reduce costs. There could be reduced costs because other people are doing their part of the job. They're not doing your part, or they're not doing Sam's part. They're doing their part. Everybody's responsible for their parts. Now the cost can be reduced because it's more effective. Establish accountability. Agree on performance standards. I see you, Todd. Agree on performance standards and timetables for the completion. Make sure everybody's clear about it. Hold team members accountable for completing the tasks they agreed to complete. Check on them. Find out how they're doing. Follow up. This is vital in the delegation process. Good leaders often offer feedback and help when necessary if people get off course and they need course correction. That's a cairn if you don't know what that is. Effective leaders do best creating an environment where team members know the leader wants to hear about the successes and the problems. Results will not meet expectations unless the leader pays close attention and monitors progress. This is where your energy goes into, not doing all the work that the other people aren't doing. Effective leaders recognize team members for their achievements. Recognition encourages the members to do more. It also encourages other team members to achieve as well. Good thing, recognition. And you can ask your team how they want to be recognized. It may not be the same for everybody. It's always nice to be recognized. Never tell people how to do things. Tell them what to do, and they will surprise you with their ingenuity. General George Smith Patton, Jr., United States Army officer. When you're delegating and you're an effective leader and you're delegating, the thing that matters the most is that you have the vision, your team is on board, they know what it is that they're to do, you're clear about the resources and resource management. Everybody knows what their roles are, they want to do it, they're loyal, and it works like a charm. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you for that speech, Pamelah. That was wonderful. And I am sure that you were referring to me on most of those what not to do.
Well, maybe one or two.
So, and I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot from you too. So I really appreciate that you are bringing that to our entire club. And I also saw on the side note there that Aaron also is agreeing with he could read this PowerPoint presentation every day and it would be good. So our next speaker for today is Doug Thiessen, and his project is strategic relationship, which is level 1 for mastering fundamentals. It's the icebreaker. His title is A Toastmaster's Journey. Doug has been a Toastmaster for nearly 20 years. He is a DTM, a past district governor. Today he's starting his first project on the new Pathways program, and every path starts with an icebreaker speech. He will be describing where Toastmasters has taken him. Please help me welcome Doug to tell us about a Toastmaster's journey. Please help me welcome Doug Thiessen.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, and greetings to fellow Toastmasters. A journey of over 1,000 miles can begin with a single speech. A lot of people have said that Toastmasters is life-changing, and I wholeheartedly agree. And when I joined Toastmasters in 1998, I started a journey with a destination that I could never have predicted. It's led me to a new country, a new career, and a whole new sense of my own identity. 20 years ago, I was a grad student working on a PhD in physics and living in my hometown in Vancouver, Canada. Excuse me. My wonderful cat just seems to keep wanting to come and visit the club meeting. I was thinking of being a professor, and I had seen a whole lot of examples of profs that just don't know how to communicate. They were very adept possibly at what they do, and even better at putting people to sleep in their lectures. But I'd heard of Toastmasters, so I knew what the solution was, and I went to find a club. Fortunately, that was easy. There was a student club right on campus. So I joined right away, and I found an amazing environment. And I found a passion for public speaking that I didn't even know I had. Now, fast forward to 10 years later, and well, I'd graduated, I'd got my degree, but life was not going as I expected. I was not working. I call myself a physicist if anybody asked, but I wasn't working in physics. I was doing computer tech support, and a marriage of 15 years was falling apart at that point. But I still had Toastmasters, and it was a shining light in my life. I'd been elected as Lieutenant Governor of Marketing for the province of British Columbia, which is now the Program Quality Director. Well, that's Lieutenant Governor of Education. And in 2010, I'd finished a year as District Governor with a distinguished district. I was finishing my second Distinguished Toastmaster, but at the same time, by this time, I had also become unemployed and divorced. Fortunately, this gave me ample time to attend the Toastmaster International Convention which was in Palm Desert, California that summer. And it was there that I met a woman, a Toastmaster from Cleveland, Ohio. Now, despite me being a physicist, we discovered an immediate chemistry and decided to stay in touch after the conference. Within a couple of months, we'd fallen in love over the internet. So a year later, I'd proposed to her and was working on getting a visa to immigrate to the United States so that we could be married. And today, actually just last month, we celebrated our 5th anniversary. Now, having moved to Cleveland, I had to get my career back on track. And although I still called myself a physicist, I was finding that academic research just wasn't holding the same interest for me. So I was exploring other options. I mean, I loved public speaking. I wanted to do training. I thought I could help people that way. And I began to look for opportunities in that direction. And it was at this time that a fellow Toastmaster introduced me to a program that teaches financial literacy and entrepreneurship. And this just radically changed my way of thinking, and in fact, my career direction. I was hooked. Here was a way that I could teach people about their own finances and how they could get completely debt-free. So this is a new path for me, and I never would have discovered it or even considered it if it wasn't for Toastmasters. Overall, Toastmasters is definitely life-changing. Today, if anybody asks me, I don't say that I'm a physicist anymore, although that's still my background, of course. I say I help people get out of debt. I'm also living in a whole different country than where I grew up. And actually, I'm eligible and considering becoming an American citizen. Although if anybody asks me, I still say that I am Canadian. I'm also happily married to a woman I met through Toastmasters, and we have a better relationship than I've ever had before. Partly because of the communication that we've both learned in the clubs. In 20 years of Toastmasters, my journey has taken me in directions that I never expected to go, and a destination that I never predicted when I started. And that's not just physical places, it's spiritual and others. So I don't know where my Toastmasters journey is going to take me next, but I do know that Toastmasters will be a big part of it, and I look forward to where it's going to go. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Wonderful, wonderful, Doug. Thank you. Thank you so much. I love learning about people through their icebreaker speeches, and I'm kind of excited about pathways, that every new path has a new icebreaker. Is that true? Yeah, that's exciting. You get to hear lots of different icebreakers going forward. So thank you.
Are we going to do 1 minute of comments to the speakers?
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, so let's do 1 minute of silence. And if you can, click on the chat box. You can send Doug a private message by clicking down where it says everyone. You click down that arrow, find Doug's name, and send him a private message. Okay. All right, thank you. And I heard a ding. I believe, Jim Adams, you and I need to talk. You can ding me again if you want. The next portion of our meeting will be our table topics portion. Also, since we had another speaker, I'm actually going to add another minute to offer, because I'm just thinking we have one other speaker, and we did this for Doug, but we didn't do this for Pamelah. So I'm going to add.
People sent me comments already.
Oh, people did? Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. Great, thank you, fellow Toastmasters, for being on top of that. Okay, Aaron is our table topics master for today, and he's going to do our impromptu portion of the meeting, and I'm going to, please help me welcome Aaron Long in Hong Kong.
Thank you, fellow Toastmasters. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon from all around the world. Table Topics is always a session whereby we are training our quick-wittedness to answer the questions in a very fluent, structured manner to make sure that we can impress our audience. And that's the way how Toastmaster works in this way. So in Table Topics itself, it's 1 to 2 minute speech. 1 minute. Oh, may I actually have the timer actually raising up the green card at 1 minute? Doing a demonstration along the side. Thank you, Todd. Green card at the 1 minute. Yellow card at 1 minute and 30 seconds. Thank you. And 2 minutes will be the red card. Bravo. And it will be staying there until the speaker ends. So this is how it works. Following the theme of effective leadership, it will range from 1 to 5, whereby 1 is the easiest and 5 is the hardest. So the first question will always be the easiest one. Can I have any takers, please? Anyone who wants to raise up their hands for answering the first question. So we have Diane actually taking up the first question. Can you spotlight Diane for a minute first? Dawn, thank you.
Hold on a minute, let's see.
No worries. Just spotlight Diane and I'll ask that question.
There she is.
Diane, you will be given the first question. The first question is very simple.
Okay.
When is the last time you have demonstrated the values of an effective leader? That's your question.
That's a great question, Aaron. When I think about the values of effective leadership and the time that I recently showed those to the world, I would say it's been most recently as a chaplain in hospice, because here in hospice, I'm leading and helping people with grief. So when I step into a patient's room, often their home, I'm leading with my heart. I'm leading in a way that allows families and patients to have the space to process emotions, to deal with forgiveness and reconciliation, to deal with a whole host of problems and issues. So being a chaplain has really challenged me to be that leader, and people look to me and often call me now, friends and colleagues, when things are tough, because they see that I stand in the place of leadership regarding loss, suffering, and grief. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you very much, Diane. May I invite the second speaker, or the one that actually goes for a table topic? Please raise up your hand if you're interested. Go for it. The limited quota for it, though. Or I will name someone. Martin. Oh, okay, Todd, please. Todd, please come on the stage. Please spotlight Todd. Okay, I can't spotlight because I'm not the host.
Oops, I'm sorry, guys.
It's okay, no worries.
There you go.
Thank you, Todd. The second question is actually slightly innovative. There is a saying whereby effective leaders are people who are in positions. Is that true or is that false? This is the main answer.
I would say it is false because it's not 100% all the time that an effective leader has to be in a position of authority. For example, I am the public relations VP in my club. I am not leading the club as president, yet I've advised the president on several occasions. I can't cite specific examples, but when I notice a gap in any kind of communication or things aren't really going as expected based on information I've learned at TLIs, I go ahead and email and try to address the situation and share it with pertinent officers. And I believe that is an example of effective leadership without actually being in that role. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Todd. So the next question, any takers, please raise up your hand. I actually want to ask this question to someone for a long time. Mark, please come on the stage, please. Mark Worthy. Are you ready for the challenge? Okay, the question for Mark is that you are a leader among the rats, and there is a cat who is guarding the cheese. You are given 5 rats to accompany you to this task to get the rich cheese in front of you. How would you delegate this job to the rats to make sure that you can effectively get the cheese without any casualties?
Thank you very much, Mr. Tabletop Master. Now, I have 5 rats working on my team. I think it's extremely important to assess and determine and recognize, recognize the strengths of each rat. That will enable me to efficiently utilize my resources so that it increases the percentage that we will be able to collectively distract the cat and secure the cheese. See, someone has to be the point person. For anyone who's been in the military, the point person is the first one out, ahead of the group, that does surveillance, that does monitoring, determine when, at what time it's necessary to distract that cat. And then ideally, I would have 2 of those rats work in concert with one another so that they can secure the cheese while the distracting rat is doing his job. Also, we need to have backup in case of damage control, because at some point the cat might recognize what's taking place. So we need to be able to have a secondary level that's prepared to redirect the cat should the cat become aware of what's going on. In the final analysis, I'm hungry for cheese. I want to eat, and I will do everything I possibly can to get it. So that's why assessing, determining, and executing is so critical. Thank you, Mr. Tabletop Master.
Thank you very much for that. So next question, anyone wants to take up the challenge? It's another interesting question, anticipating for anyone. Anyone takers? If not, I will give it to Dawn. Okay, Dawn, you spotlight yourself then.
All right, here I am.
Okay, the question is very simple. You are a very successful leader in a corporation. You meet with your employee who is very capable, but you know that she stole your husband. But then you have to motivate her to stay in your team, because without her, the whole team is going to collapse. What would you do to motivate her? Because she's feeling very down after the day of hard work.
She's feeling down after a day of hard work. Madam, Mr. Tabletop Master, I would have to say she would totally be down after a day of hard work of dealing with stealing my husband. That would be very hard work. Is that what you said? Okay. How would I motivate her to stay on my team? Well, first of all, I would really want to assess whether or not I would want her to stay on my team. If it's that important to me that this person who has the ability to betray me would be a good person to have on my team. I would really want to make sure that I could count on her to do other things and to complete tasks. If she could do something so horrific as stealing my husband, which would be an impossible task anyways, I would really want to know what her ability is to stay in and do the right thing before I would go into the conversation of trying to convince her to stay. So I believe that that would be my answer. I wouldn't convince her to stay. I would find out for sure what it is that she's going to be doing to add value to the team, knowing that she's capable of doing something so horrible. So back to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Okay, thank you very much. So may I check with the timer? Do we have one more question, the time for one more question, or should we proceed on to the general evaluation? Do we have time for one more?
I think so.
Move on to, I noticed Pamelah actually mentioned in background saying, move on to the general evaluation, right?
Okay.
We do, because it takes about 18 minutes to do the general evaluation.
No issues. So may I pass back the stage to our TME for today. Okay, yeah, you.
I'm muted. Thank you. Thank you again. At this point, I would like to call on our general evaluator for the day, and that's Tricia Grow. Tricia is going to be finishing up the meeting with our evaluation portion of the meeting. Please help me welcome Tricia Grow.
Thank you, Dawn. First, we'll be calling on the evaluators for our speakers of today. The first evaluator is Martin Green, and he's evaluating Pamelah's speech. Martin, please share with us your thoughts on Pamelah's speech today.
You're muted, Martin. We can't hear you.
There we go. Thank you, Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, future Toastmasters, and especially Pamelah. You presented a speech today, Pamelah, that was very close to my heart. As a student of leadership, I understand that the most important way of becoming a leader is to give it away. And you described in detail not only the definition of delegation, but showed the steps that you need to take in order to achieve that and accomplish it. You talked about getting buy-in. You gave great stories that actually supported all your points. Your presentation itself, the slides, supported the points that you were making and were well structured to get from the beginning to the end. You started out by explaining the definition and describing why it was important. And along the way, you gave all the benefits of achieving these things, of getting buy-in and being an effective leader. If I was to suggest something different, and that would be to use a little bit less of reading from the slides. Your slides really spoke for themselves, and I know I would like to have a copy at the end to be able to refer eventually and to continue to refresh that skill. But you probably want to just use the slides to define it and tell your own stories to support them rather than read directly from them. But you really did an effective job of telling the story from beginning to end. And it really, you made such great points. And one of the things you did was you personalized it. You told stories that would help you apply it to life. Some of your stories would apply to business. Other of your stories applied directly to Toastmasters. So from the beginning to the end, no matter where somebody is in their lifetime, you have a way to apply it, what you taught, to that skill. So congratulations. And again, I would love to have a copy. And I think the ultimate compliment to you, Pamelah, is that I'm sure I'm not the only one who asked for a copy of your slides to be able to refresh your skills. So thank you, and I look forward to your continued presentations on effective leadership. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Martin. Our next evaluator will be Diane, and she will be evaluating Doug's speech. Diane, would you please share with us your thoughts on Doug's speech today?
Thank you, Madam Evaluator, General Evaluator. Doug, I was really impressed with your speech. I really enjoyed it quite a bit. I have to say that your speech was powerful because you took us on a journey. We began with you in Canada. We began with you in a life centered around physics. And it seemed as you were going through the story, you took us on this journey and you had the key in your hand. The key was Toastmasters. So you took us on this journey, leading us and helping us understand that Toastmasters was the key, but we weren't really sure how it would all unfold until we got to the desert where the conference was, the desert where you were without wife, without job. And in the desert, there at that big convention, things started to change. And we were excited because we saw the pieces come together, that Toastmasters gave you the courage to take the next step, to meet a new woman, to have a new destiny, and to have a new career, now helping people get out of debt. I have to say, you were very clear and concise. Your voice was powerful. You had great eye contact. I always wonder what it's like to be online, and here you didn't look away from the camera much. You kept focused on us, your audience. You also had good movement with your hands, which I appreciated. And you were very interesting, engaging. The only suggestion I would make is perhaps at the very end, there could be a stronger pitch for Toastmasters. Although we're all with you and we all share the passion, I was almost hoping there'd be like a little soundbite as a pitch for the work that we do here in Toastmasters. But I must say, I'm excited, glad to know you. You inspire me. And I'm hoping that over time, we'll get to know each other better, especially through this organization. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Diane. We have many helpers throughout our journey this afternoon and this meeting, and I would first like to call on our grammarian, Jim.
Okay, very good. I'll keep it brief. I did count ums and ahs. Pamelah did not have any in her speech, although she made a comment off of her script where she used it, and I always ding people for this. I didn't ding her because it was a speech, but she used the phrase, it was like, pause, God. I think she was kind of channeling the lady that was on the slide, so I totally understand why she was doing that. Doug was a couple of double I's, and even though you're using so properly, the fact that you stretch these so's out kind of is cheating. You're using the filler word, you're using it properly, but you are kind of taking advantage of the so to gather and collect your thoughts. Todd had that, and 3 ums. Aaron had 2 ums. Mark had nothing. Todd had nothing. I think that's the balance of my counter grammarian report. Thank you very much. Back to you.
Thank you. Next, I would like to call on our timer, Todd. How do we do with our time today?
Well, it's about time. Going through each one, I'll start with our lead-in speeches. Pamelah, you were at 13:52, that being going from the sweet spot of 12 to 15 minutes. And Doug, you were at 6 minutes, 16 seconds. So your goal was 4 to 6 minutes. So just a little bit over, but very close. Table topics. We have, I think, was it Diane did the first one? And that was at 2:02. I'm not sure. I think it was Mark how many did we do? 3? I got Mark in at 1:45, and I got Dawn at 1:41. May have missed someone. Moving on to evaluators, I tracked Martin at 2 minutes 15 seconds and Diane at 2 minutes 12 seconds. So very, very close. The goal, of course, is being 2 to 3 minutes. And that is all.
Great. Thank you so much, Todd. But I'm going to just get a general overall view of today's meeting and my observations. First, of course, most important is we started on time. So that is also always a good way to start a meeting. I had a suggestion for Dawn, and I noticed when you were giving introductions for the speaker, there was quite some area of dead time where you were trying to find them on your computers. Perhaps you could print them out so you have them right in front of you. That's just a small suggestion that I found. As I was also sort of monitoring our bodies today, is that if you're eating something during the meeting, is maybe stop sharing your video just till you're done eating, because it can be distracting if we see you on the side and you're eating for quite some length of time. Also, Erin, I'm just very impressed that you were the impromptu speaker, our table topics master today, and you weaved it right into our theme of the day. I just was very impressed, and the questions were very entertaining, especially the rat and the cheese one. I just wanted to tip my hat to you. And of course, our 2 evaluators, Martin, you did a really good job of spotlighting specific areas of both improvement and what Pamelah did well during the speech. And I really appreciated that you gave her specific instances and a good, thank you, person. I just lost my train of thought. You gave her specific areas of improvement and that she could try and do something that's a little bit more off the script of the actual presentation. So I thought that was very helpful for her. Diane, again, you tied Doug's speech onto this key. We could see that key. We could follow your train of thought with how his life progressed using this key of Toastmasters. It made it very relevant to all of us. I also how you liked to paint the picture of the desert. Not only was he at the actual desert, but he was in a desert in his life, and it was so significant of observation, and I just really enjoyed that. Overall, I believe that our meeting went very well, and everyone gave good insight and encouragement to continue and add to our speaking abilities. And I will now turn the meeting back over to
How about the body language? Did you notice any body language?
The only body language I mentioned was the eating during the meeting. I didn't notice any. I only could see like 4 or 5 people at a time. But I did flick through. I did not catch anybody doing anything else, obviously, that I would mention. But that was my only observation. So I will now hand the meeting back to our president, Acting President Dawn, and Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Tricia. That was a wonderful evaluation. So at this time, I'd like to ask all of us to put in some chats. Like we're just going to do like a general evaluation. Like if you have something that either Tricia didn't mention about the meeting, go ahead and put that in the chat space, or if you have something that you want to share, we can kind of do a little riff here about that. And specifically, while we're doing that, I'm going to ask our guest, Diane, how she enjoyed the meeting. And this is her first time at an online club, I guess. So could you unmute yourself and let us know how you enjoyed the meeting, what you thought about it, and whether you're going to be back.
Thank you very much. Madam Toastmaster, I have to say I really enjoyed the meeting. Of course, Jim Adams has been the one who's encouraged me. Sometimes he can be annoying, Jim. And sometimes he can just be the person who says, hey, get out of your comfort zone. In this case, that's what he was doing. And I'm so glad. This is an amazing venue. I have so much to learn. I want to be back. And I thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Thanks. And thanks, Jim Adams, for being a pest. I appreciate that.
It's what I do.
I appreciate that. And Mark, I'm going to ask you how you enjoyed the meeting. I know you're in Mexico and you're at lunchtime. Is this a good space for you? I want to hear some of your insights because I know you have a PhD and a DTM. You've been around for a while. I'd like to hear your thoughts as well.
Well, thank you very much, Madam President. I thoroughly enjoyed the meeting, the concept, and it's for that reason I made a concerted effort to be present. For the time being, this slot works well for me, and I want to utilize it and engage the club as much as I possibly can. I look forward to returning and participating, and I thank all of you for a very enjoyable experience.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mark. And is that Pamelah? Did you have something you wanted to add? Were you consciously doing that, or was that an unconscious?
No, yes, I do have something I want to add, and I also put it in the chat box that this is my experience, and it may not be true for everyone, but my experience of the evaluation is to just talk about the delivery, not the content. Agreeing with the content, not agreeing with the content, not really relevant to the speech, to the evaluation, and also to not recount what was done. You did this, you did this, you did this, but use the time to talk about what was done well in terms of delivery and what could be improved. So those are just two things that I noticed today in our evaluations that I just wanted to bring up. This is maybe not how other people do it. It may not be true throughout Toastmasters. It's something I've learned from my Toastmasters group.
So could you, since we have a couple of minutes, could you just give an example or some vision of how that could have been different today, or what you could add to that conversation about those evaluations?
Yes, I will. So when Marty was talking with me about my evaluation, there was a lot of recounting of you did this, this, and this. What I would have loved to have received is, what did I do well in terms of delivery? How was my body language? How were my gestures? How was my vocal variety? How was I doing in terms of organization of the speech? Did I tie the introduction to the end, right? These are things that matter to me in speech process. I would have liked that kind of feedback because it would have helped me to know how, especially in this new forum, how I'm coming across on the web versus in person. So anything that would have supported that process, either what I did well or what could be improved, would have been super helpful for me to know how to continue in this particular mode. That would be something that I would just like to suggest that we pay attention to, especially as we're learning about being here, is how to comment on the presentation delivery. If I tried to do gestures and they were outside the screen, how did that go? Right? So I did get the improvement on not using the slides, and believe me, compared to what I did yesterday, I was way better than I was, but I agree that, just using the slides as more of a talking point versus reading them would be helpful. So thank you. That's what I wanted to share.
Yeah, wonderful. And I think that this is a great opportunity, especially when we're a small group, that we can talk about those things at the end of the meeting. So I appreciate that. And I'm going to ask that anybody else wants to type in anything specific about the meeting itself, go ahead and do that within the chat. I'm going to switch this time to go over to our agenda. So, and you can talk while we're doing this. You can open your mic and go ahead and talk while I shift to our agenda. Yeah, so here we are.
Jim, you had your hand up. Did you want to
Oh.
add something?
Yeah, I was just going to echo exactly what you're saying. We need to be reminded that it's not the content, but to the same to benefit from the knowledge that we're gaining. Again, I'm going to push everyone and suggest that we utilize the Facebook groups as a venue to have a discussion about the content and the excitement that we want to share that sometimes gets stuck into an evaluation, or we don't get the opportunity to share during the meeting. I don't think that I think it would be a great idea if we would carry on, if so desired, to talk about your wonderful presentation and about delegation as a continuing discussion on the Facebook group page. That's the perfect venue for us to continue to educate ourselves and remind ourselves about the information that we're getting. So that's all.
That's wonderful. Yeah, that's a great suggestion. And if you're not familiar with the Facebook group, we'll make sure that you get invited to that if you're not already a member of the Facebook group. And Diane, if you could send me your email, I will be happy to add you to our list so you'll know every week what's going on. And when we'll use the same link every week, so if you want to keep that in your calendar, that's great. And at this time, I have one person who has asked to speak next week, and that's Mark, so I'm going to put him on the agenda right now. And he has given me anyone else here. Oh, great, thank you. Do I have a volunteer to be the Toastmaster for next week? That's kind of a big role. Or anyone else who wants to speak. Go ahead and open your mics so we can I can hear everybody.
I would like to speak next week.
Awesome, Diane, great. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make you a part of our website also, if you would like to. All you have to do is go in and do an RSVP at the on the bottom of our agenda if you're not already on here. If you do this RSVP link right here, if you can see that, and then I can just click on your name and add you to the website. So it's a click button for me to do that, and it's ato.toastmost.org. And Mark, you're actually already in our, you're already on here as a member because you're a member of another Toastmaster Club. So you can use that same login that you have with your other Toastmaster Club to use and sign up for roles within this club.
Wonderful.
So it should be very easy for you. And thank you, Diane. I'm going to put you down as a speaker.
Yes.
And oops, I guess you're going to be speaking first. Because I put Mark down as the second. So, and it's Vega, right?
VEGO.
VO. Okay, Vego. Got it. And do you know what your path is, or your speech at all at this time?
I think I would like to work on the. I have a manual. Humorously speaking.
Okay. And it is in here somewhere. I will.
You just passed it.
Yeah,
you just passed it. It's up at the top.
There it is.
They're in alphabetical order for the advanced manuals.
Got it. And then, do you know which one it is? The first one?
I think warm up your audience. That's good. Yes.
Okay. And you can change that if you want. There's a space on here to put your introductions in. If you don't get them on the website, please just send them to me so I can put them on. It makes it a lot easier for me when I'm doing the agenda for the week. And
sounds great. I have to go back to work.
Thanks.
So, thanks. Au revoir. Till next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for coming. Bye. And does anyone else, did somebody say that I'm trying to look here. Does somebody volunteer to be the Toastmaster for next week? Or an evaluator? We have two speakers. Do I have two evaluators?
I could be general evaluator.
All right, I'd love for you to be general evaluator.
And not be willing to evaluate a speech.
Sounds good. So general evaluator is Pamelah, and evaluator is Tricia.
I could do table topics master.
Awesome. Doug is table topic master. Let me push save before I lose all that great data. Jim, are you still on here?
Yes,
Do
I am
you-
still here, but I cannot be a Toastmaster, although I will promise to be one the following week, only because, again, I will be on a job site that might extend my, I might be in a car instead of in a place that's stationary. That's my only concern.
Got it. So I will put you down. I will make sure that you are the Toastmaster for the following week. I will do that privately. Personally,
Absolutely.
Todd, are you up for being a Toastmaster? Would you like to do that? Could you do that at your lunch period? I'm not sure if that's something that you can do or not.
Yeah, I'm a little hesitant. I don't know how my schedule changes so much, and I don't know if I'd have the time right now.
Andrea will be back next week. Let's have her do that.
Okay.
Let's
Oh,
volunteer Andrea. She's not here. Let's volunteer her.
All right.
Very good delegation skills you have there.
Yes. She's
That's
good
it.
as a Toastmaster.
Yeah, and that won't require her to do anything that she needs to prepare for. That's a good.
That's not true. It's a Toastmaster's job to make sure all the roles are filled.
But she won't have to do a prepared
Because
speech.
you did it.
She asked specifically not to do any prepared speeches for the next
Right,
few weeks. So I
right,
wanted to make
yeah.
sure that was in case. Okay, so that sounds great. And at this point, I guess I didn't end the meeting before now, but I wanted to make sure that I end the meetings on time. So at this point, I'm going to say meeting adjourned. And if you'd like to stay on and just chat at all about anything, please do stay on. But thank you very much for a great Toastmasters meeting, and look forward to seeing you all next week.
You know,
Awesome.
Are you going to stop the recording?
I
Yeah.
can't